I have quite a bit of vintage knitting magazines, as you can see. And as is sometimes the case in those vintage knitting magazines, the pictures may look a bit silly to our modern eyes. And as I have just finished a couple of big projects and have a couple of big projects in the future, I thought, why not just chill out for a moment and look at some silly pictures? That's what we're going to do. We're going to look at some silly pictures of potentially silly vintage knitting patterns. Before we get into these silly pictures of the silly vintage patterns, let me give you a framework for what I mean with vintage, because last time when I said vintage knitting patterns, there were a lot of people that felt like personally attacked when I said the 1980s were vintage. And I am not personally attacking you, but yes, the 1980s are vintage. The term vintage is applied to stuff, patterns, clothing, furniture, whatever, that is at least 20 years old but is younger than 100 years old. So in that definition, I too am very much vintage, because by the time that you are seeing this, I might have already or am celebrating my birthday in a couple of weeks, and then I'll be 31. That is clearly within the 20 to 100 range, so count myself in the vintage range. Let's get into the silly, right? I've stolen my husband's GoPro so that maybe I can do like dual shots, both me and the silly pictures in the picture. 2 silly pictures. I don't know, is this going to work? Let's try. That's vertical, Jente, that's vertical. Let's go handheld then. It's a GoPro after all. I mean, a stationary GoPro would have been quite ridiculous, wouldn't it? Anyway, we're starting out with this De Grote Bijbelmodegids van Trois Suisses. I could not actually find an exact date on this. It looks 70s to me. People with more knowledge about this than me, please chime in the comments if I'm wrong about dates or stuff. It could be. I mean, I'm a historian, but I studied the Middle Ages. This is clearly not the Middle Ages. Anyway, a first of my curated silly pictures is this one. Like, nothing wrong with what they're wearing. What they're wearing is actually pretty stylish, and I would make it. But if you don't know if you can see over here, it says diary. Oh my God, whose diary are they gossiping about? You two. Oh, it's probably full of spicy details, isn't it? Isn't it? Tell me. Whose diary is this? What is this posing, this modeling? Why are they holding a booklet that literally says diary? That was my first silly picture for you. I hope we're off to a good start. And this is not a silly picture, but when I saw this, is this Kathleen? Of Kathleen Illustrated? Is Kathleen actually a vampire? Tell me, Kathleen. Tell me your secrets. Still in the same Trois Suisses book, we find that in the 70s, the man bag was actually pretty fashionable. But this lady doesn't actually know how to use glasses. This is not how you use glasses, please. Thank you. Thank you. It's also really weird. I don't know, it's just, I think this was very silly. That was Trois Suisses. Here we go, a very used Nevada Mode number 10. Do we have a year for this one? No, apparently not. 70 still is what I think. Anyway, silly pictures. We're here for silly pictures. Let's go. What's this cowl? What's this hood? Firstly, but then secondly. I mean, I get that you are so proud of these socks, but socks over jeans, that's an entirely new thing, an entirely new style. Are we going to bring that back? Socks over jeans? Yeah, the socks themselves are awesome though. Or are they socks or are they like leg warmers? The look, however, is great. Confidence, audacity, nice. This, I'm not sure whether I would be comfortable. Firstly, that's too much color to be comfortable, and then I would feel like a caterpillar, I think. Especially in like this thick, thin, slubby yarn. Yeah, I would feel like a caterpillar. And here is just a combination of two pictures. Like, I mean, I get why she's angry. That's some actual righteous anger she is facing over here. The entire family just looking at her while she is working. You've got right to be angry, girl. Like, your sibling is just picking her nose. Still within Nevada, but another one. I think a younger one. Still without a year. Still without a year, I think. Yeah, no years. Great fashion, however. We're not here for the great fashion, we're here for silly pictures. Like this multifunctional use of scarves. It's the same scarf, it's the same woman. I just thought that was a little bit silly. Oh, a fellow Belgians, if you are here, what is she doing with that Suske na Wiske album? Suske na Wiske is like national treasure. You don't do this to Suske na Wiske. What the hell? I mean, this is printed in the Netherlands. Dutch people, I'm going to tell you that this is not how you treat Belgian heritage. No, 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 whatever you're thinking, no. Suske and Wiske is to be treated with respect and dignity. Thank you very much. And to be honest, this picture is what kickstarted my brain into thinking I need to make a video on all the silly stuff that I come across in my vintage magazines, because this is an actual paintbrush in her collar. I mean, the collar itself is extra, very silly, but are we going to put paintbrushes in our knits now? I mean, I'm not, because I use my paintbrushes to paint, but yeah, so a paintbrush. Oh, and then this dress is slightly silly, but also just iconic, like cat and a mouse. Iconic. It's a look. She's perfect. Like, who doesn't want a secret cat and mouse on their knit dresses? Like, yeah, I can get behind this. Even though the cat is looking, well, is it the dog, and is this a cat? This looks like I'm not sure. That's how weird this animal is looking. However, the idea is awesome. I love the idea. I like this. Thank you, Nevada. You have served us well in terms of silly pictures. This fildar was very classic and there were no silly pictures. What a shame. This fildar is serving us with silly pictures, or at least I think I have categorized one as a silly picture. Can we find out how old this fildar is? Again, apparently not, or can we? Oh yes, 1984. Let's see what the silly of 1984 has to offer. Ah, more caterpillar cowls. How is this comfortable? Like, even with the caterpillar modus, it just looks like there is way too much fabric. She doesn't even look comfortable. Like, what is this grin? Is this the same sweater actually on the cover? That looks much better, but it's probably because she's hiding it with her hands. Another boring fildar. More boring fildar. And here we come to an already known magazine. The one that I used for one of my videos already, where I knit the sweater on the front cover. It also has some silly stuff. Okay, so people in the audience, tell me, what exactly is she doing with the yarn? I mean, this article is about weaving. This has a name. The name will be here. I can't think of it in English. Stokjesweven. What's she doing? Like, I guess she is winding a ball, but her skein is just, her hank, so where she's winding from, is just loose over the basket. Girl, that's not going to work. You will get tangles and knots. I'm telling you, you will get tangles and knots. Yeah, you're just acting a little silly. Oh well, speaking of acting a little silly, this is just, well, textbook silly, dressing up as clowns, but then, like, I don't know, slightly unhinged clowns, only slightly. I mean, it's a look, it's iconic, we can get behind it, but it's just a little silly, right? Just a little. Do you agree? This is just a little silly? He agrees, I think. I mean, are they silly, or is it actually just cute to have, like, sewn on mittens on your sweater and sewn on braids because your hair isn't long enough? Fake lapels? I mean, yeah, I'm not sure whether to categorize this under silly or weird, but it's just, it's a little bit silly, right? What are you going to do when this sweater is underneath a coat and you can't reach your sweater mittens? But on the other hand, it's just a novelty way of adding pockets, I guess. I guess that was it, friends. I've gone through all my vintage magazines and even like the separate cuttings that my grandmom kept. And there is no more silly pictures. Too bad. Then this is the end of the video. I don't know, it was something super silly that I had my mind on, wanted to make. I had fun making it and like looking through all these pictures and finding something silly for you guys. I hope you had fun just looking at silly things. Sometimes we just need a little bit of time off. And as it is now the fine month of June, you know that we will be heading into Tour de Vlies in the next coming weeks, so brace yourselves. Things will be even more silly. Anyway, if you like these kind of fiber adjacent shenanigans, then maybe you could like, comment or subscribe, but of course that is all up to you. As for me, I will see you in a next video, but before we do that, maybe you could look at some actual knitting. Bye!